This is the forum for the Judge-Executive candidates. We have Democratic candidate Harold Shorty Tomlinson and Republican candidate Jennifer Beach. Thank you all for both being with us this evening. I'll briefly review the format again for tonight's forum. At the start of the evening, you both drew for your order, and Mr. Tomlinson got to go first. Mrs. Beach gets to go second. None of the candidates have seen or had access to the questions. The News Democrat developed those. Ones that we are asking tonight, we did get some audience questions. We reviewed those, and we will be including some of those tonight as well. We'll begin with your 1-minute introduction, and then that'll be followed by the questions. They will each be assigned times. The green light will come on when you have 20 seconds left, and then the red light will flash on when you have 5 seconds remaining. Please try to stay within your time limits. Our goal is to try to do about another 30 to 40 minutes and hopefully wrap up by 8:30 this evening. If you do wish to have a rebuttal on a question, the way to do it is to ask at the end of that question before we move on to the next one, and then you will have 30 seconds once you notify me to do it, and then we'll move on to the next questions. And let's see, and again we ask the audience to refrain from clapping or making noise, and we'll give you time at the end to thank them for their participation. So we'll begin now with the opening remarks, and Mr. Tomlinson, you have 60 seconds to begin.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, the News Democrat and the FFA. I am Harold Shorty Tomlinson. I have been honored to serve as your county judge-executive for 4 terms. Recently retired, came back. I also was fortunate enough to actually manage Jerome Butler State Resort Park for 8 years. And as well, we also had worked at M&T Chemicals for 22 years, so I have some industrial background. I am married to my wife, Sandy Tomlinson Hughes, from Gent. We just celebrated in June our 50th wedding anniversary. I have 3 kids, Daryl, Kim, and Leanne. Got 9 grandkids and 4 great-grandkids with another one on the way. But it has been an honor, actually, to serve you all in the past, and I'm looking forward to it again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Beach. You have 60 seconds.
Good evening. I have lived in Carroll County for 28 years, and I've raised all my children here. My husband and I have a cattle farm in Gent. I have served a term on the school board. I have owned my own small business, and I've volunteered extensively in the schools. I've spent the last 10 months researching and studying this county, and I've talked to hundreds of people. They've all told me the same things. They love their home, they love this area, and they want to stay here, but they also would like to see some improvements. I commit to working with our community for long-term planning. I want to prioritize the Sheriff's Department, the EMS, and the roads, and I would like to work with the schools to improve our workforce education, and I would like to actively work to reduce our drug problem. These issues are also important to me, and this is why I'm seeking this office. Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to our first question. This question will be a 60-second question, and we'll begin with Mrs. Beach. Please explain why you are the person voters should cast their ballot for over your opponent. You have 60 seconds.
I am an experienced entrepreneur. I also have political experience when I was on the school board. I am also an artist, a musician, and a decent writer, and I've spent a lifetime in creative pursuits. Creativity is a transferable skill. I see potential and possibilities in everything that I see and do. Something unique to me is I was also a kinder music educator, and I was the director and producer of the high school musical, so I have worked with toddlers and teenagers, and I'm very skilled at managing chaos. They will also see right through you, toddlers and teenagers, and so I have understood the need for transparency, and I am very practiced in it. Also, these things require communication and planning skills, which I'm also adept in, and I think that those are skills that are necessary for times in our county right now.
Okay. Mr. Tomlinson, you have 60 seconds for this question.
I just really think that my past experience in government at a number of levels, serving on so many boards across the region and the Commonwealth, as well as on some national boards, brings a lot more understanding about what's really going on. We have worked on our educational system with community college. Workforce development is very, very important. And we also, in our community college, our GED programs. And we talked earlier a little bit about some of the stats about bringing some of our folks into the workforce. The state actually has been looking at also something through the judicial system as well called a placement program. So I'll talk a little bit more about that if we get a chance here shortly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes that question. We'll move on to the next one. This is an audience question. We'll give you 90 seconds for this one. Give her a second to do that. And this question from the audience: how will you work or partner with the City of Carrollton to better our entire community? And we'll begin with Mr. Tomlinson.
Well, I think it's one of those situations where we have done it in the past. I know all the candidates are running for mayor and the city council. We have actually partnered with them many times before on other projects throughout the city. And, you know, I think it's a matter of just sitting down. And a good example is the 911. That's something that we partnered with over a period of time. Some of the places on Hawkins Street, they had problems. We had the skateboard park that we had partnered with the city in the past. Those are things that are really important. They've got their priorities, the county has also, but there's nothing wrong with us working together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Beach, you have 90 seconds, excuse me, 90.
Experience can be a double-edged sword. So I understand that we feel like we have experience in the past working with the community, but I've not seen that just in the appearance of our community and my own experience being a community member. I feel like communication is key, and building bridges and friendships and being able to talk through things and being able to give and take and being reasonable, and sometimes we don't always get our way. I have had years of experience negotiating with numerous people, and I understand that it takes commitment and it takes a foundation of relationships. And so I am experienced in that, and I feel like that is the key to working together, is understanding relationships and being amenable to different ideas and making sure that the end product is the goal in mind, and that egos don't get in the way, and that our own personal agendas are not getting in the way of moving things forward.
Okay, thank you. This next question will be another 90-second question. Mrs. Beach, you'll begin with this. The small communities in Carroll County don't see the growth in business and in many of the other things that areas in and around Carrollton and along US 42 up to Gent do. What can be done to bring more prosperity to the rural sections of the county?
I'm very glad you asked that question, because that is part of the planning that I want to do. When I talk about comprehensive planning for the community, I'm not talking about the county in Carrollton. I'm talking about the county and all of the small cities that we have. Worthville used to be a resort town. People would come here. I know it was 150 years ago. But that doesn't mean that we can't do that again. I drive all the way to Warsaw to eat at Jewel's. That's the only thing I do there. And so I know that we can find businesses or activities that are of interest that people will drive to our small towns and do that. We have residents that live there as well and have quality, and they want a quality of life. They shouldn't always have to just drive to Carrollton to get what they need or do what they want. And I would love to work with the mayors and come up with a small city plan, and much like Carrollton, have that long-term plan. They can have one for themselves also to revitalize our small towns as well.
Okay, Okay, thank you, Mr. Tomlinson. You have 90 seconds.
The rural parts of the county, we have our small cities out there. Several years back, if some of you can remember, we didn't have water and sewer in a lot of these places. So there's been a big effort for our water and sewer projects over the years. As someone who served on the city council at Warfield at one point in time, was also the mayor of that community, I know how important it is financially for our small cities. As a county judge, I'm not going to go tell the cities what they need to do, but I am willing to assist them. And I put in place, when I first became county judge, to be able to actually give the cities some financial support, as well as their volunteer fire departments. Being a volunteer fire department chief in a small community, volunteered for probably 15, 16 years, I understand the importance of what these small communities are going through. We have the major cleanups throughout our small cities, and we can be an asset to them through county government, but I'm not going to go out and tell them what they got to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question is another one from the audience, and it will begin with Mr. Tomlinson. We're going to do 60 seconds on this one. What is your idea about metro government for the future, for the county in the future? What is your idea about metro government for the county in the future? This audience question is 60 seconds.
Once again, our small communities all have their identities. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a lot of pluses to actually combine those things, but I'm not sure that people want to. And then when you talk about that, you're talking about taking in the city of Carrollton. Are they going to become a part of it? They own their own utilities. I really don't believe that they're willing to give that up for metro government. Don't know. I've never really been asked that out on the street. I know that it's come up during this campaign a little bit. What can we do? I just plan to continue to try to assist these small communities if they need our help. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Beach, you have 60 seconds.
I believe the bigger the governments get, the more inefficient they become. I'm a strong believer in smaller is better. You know best in your community what you need, and you don't need someone else from another part of the county to tell you how to run things. So I am not in favor of metro governments, especially in a county of this size. I feel like what we need to do instead is support and strengthen all of our small units and help them become the best that they can be. And then when we partner together, that's when we become a strong community.
Okay, thank you. This next question will be 90 seconds. Mrs. Beach will be first up on it. Through the many candidate forums that we've held, one issue does keep coming up. We talked about it in the magistrate's part this evening. It's the need to clean up the entrance to the community of I-71 and exit 44. What is your solution to this issue that everyone sees as a problem that must be addressed? Mrs. Beach, you have 90 seconds.
I think cleaning that up is actually vital to our community. I think it's probably the most important economic part to our community. No one will spend millions of dollars and invest $1 million in our community in a junkyard. We cannot become more prosperous when we don't take care of ourselves. So my thoughts would be to get that cleaned up. I would also like to go through 227 as a main thoroughfare as people go to our city, and I would like to put some green spaces in that as well. I want to address our nuisance ordinance for a second, that it is well written. It is similar to our other counties around us. The biggest problem we have with that nuisance ordinance is that we do not enforce it. It has strong language in there. It says citizens can make a citation or the code enforcement officer, and I do not understand why we omit that line in there. It is in black and white. That's a public record. You all can go to the courthouse and find it yourselves. It is a strong ordinance. It's valuable and valuable in this community. The thing that we're not doing is enforcing it, and that would be our biggest solution to Highway 227 is just go through the guidelines we've already set up. If it's subpar, that could have been fixed in 2004 when it was first written. So I don't think that we have to make any adjustments to it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tomlinson, you have 90 seconds.
It's really kind of difficult just to single one place out. I think if you look at our community overall, there's probably a number of places. Back a number of years ago, when we put this nuisance ordinance in place, well, we had public hearings on that. And guess what? Guess what? When we had that, we had 40-some people in the courtroom. 38 of them was against it, and 2 people supported it. I'm glad to see that maybe that has changed. That makes it awful difficult to govern when the majority of the people, certainly at those meetings, and nobody really spoke out. You got to do this. But it was a start. It was a start. And at the same time, we had a number of dump sites throughout this county that we actually cleaned up. Mount Hill was one. Huge, 50-foot deep, all kinds of garbage and things in it. But it had to be cleaned. We got into the Superfund program, where we would spend the money and then we'd get reimbursed. We've got a number of those out there today. There's even places that they come back and actually check. Now, we do need to do something about the 227. But what I would like to see done is us get it developed. We were in the process of getting this developed with the property owner at the time, and then we did run into a number of problems with the railroad. So we can talk a little bit more about that and the cleanup and how we should get it done when we get a chance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question begins back with Mr. Tomlinson, and we will move to a 60-second answer on this. Should fiscal court increase spending on the sheriff's office to improve salaries and allow them to hire more deputies? You have 60 seconds.
Public safety is the number one issue for all of us. Our county has actually changed. You know, we see a lot more activity. We've got drug activity, a lot of things that's going on. And I think probably the best solution is once this election's over and we see who's going to be in place, I think we need to sit down with the new sheriff, whoever that may be, and bring other law enforcement officers in, as well as the sheriff that is residing there now. And I think we need that input from them. I've never really been against adding additional help for the sheriff's office. If there's something positive about it, or if the need is truly there, I don't have a problem with that. But we'll address that at the time. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Beach, you have 60 seconds.
The 3 main jobs of county government are emergency services, law enforcement, and roads. And so yes, the sheriff's office is a priority for me. No one wants to work for minimum wage. And you're only going to get the help that you can get if you pay them for what they're worth. So yes, I would like to examine common wages and compare the wages from our surrounding counties and work to moving that up so that we can get qualified and competent deputies in our sheriff's office. That's vitally important to our community. If we had some emergency right now, we would not get a lot of help because we just don't have the manpower to get that done. That is one of my number one priorities above some of the other things that we spend county money on. And you owe it, we owe it, the county owes it to you as citizens because that's where your taxpayer dollars are going for.
Okay, thank you. This next question will begin back with Mrs. Beach, 90 seconds for the answer. Since the spring forums, and we addressed this back with the magistrates, there have been many conversations about the county selling Camp Kaisoff to another entity, such as the YMCA and the Extension Service. Both of those have been mentioned. Where do you stand on this, and what is your vision for Kaisoff? Mrs. Beach, 90 seconds.
That is a jewel in our community. I would like to see it as a functioning working camp as it was built. We have talked about activities to do in the community, and Camp Kysock is just another one of those. With an indoor pool, it already has a zip line, it has a lake, there's a lot of amenities there. I know Kysock can pay for itself. If we opened it today, there is the calendar is booked for people that have expressed interest in using that for different things that they have. I also know if we get creative that I believe Kysock could even generate money. It is a gold mine just waiting there. As my experience as an entrepreneur, I tend to look at things as in what's the potential, and I see a lot of potential in that piece of property, and I want to use it for our betterment. I've also had private discussion with our new Butler Park manager a few weeks ago, and she's very agreeable and amenable to working in partnership with Kysock. She was already in a state park once that had a Christian camp across the street, very similar to our very situation, that they partnered with, the things that that camp could offer that the state couldn't, and vice versa. And so building Kysock into our public use and then being able to channel that in with the state park will only bring good to our community.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tomlinson, you have 90 seconds on this question.
Camp Kysock is a very special place to a lot of people. As county judge, when I was in office, I was able to work out a long-term lease with Camp Kysock in the state when we actually were able to tie that property up. And my concern is that the state government would turn around and declare that surplus and sell it, subdivide it off, and that would have been a shame. I hope the county hangs on to it. I feel like that they will. I commend the county judge and the fiscal court for making the acquisition. We actually had that thing appraised through the state park system, $4 million. They got a bargain with Camp Kysock. Although we were leasing it for $1 a year, that wasn't a bad price either that we got it for. And we had a 5-year lease with a 5-year extension if we wanted to extend it. So I am glad that they purchased the property. And just one little quick example, just like the pool. You know, we have a lot of seniors from time to time that'll go out to the interstate at some of these pools at the hotels and actually just get in and have a little therapy. We could certainly do that at Camp Kysock with our seniors. It's all handicapped accessible. As well as that, you know, there's some possibilities with our hospital, physical therapy, where you can actually do some billing on that to generate some revenue. So we got a lot of options, I think, for Kysock, and I look forward to working with it in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This next question, again, for 90 seconds, and it'll begin with Mr. Tomlinson. Let's flip that calendar forward. It's 4 years from now. What will be different in the county as we are nearing the end of 2022 because of your election, if elected?
Well, I think there's a lot of communities that we can actually say that have some problems, and certainly we've got some. But I would think over the next 4 years, we can work on some of these things that we need to. The cleanups is certainly. The continuation of us working with our local industries and things, I think that's critical. Retaining those industries here, recruiting new businesses here, continuing to work on our workforce. So I would see that in 4 years that we will be doing much better. And I always kind of felt like that Carroll County ought to be kind of the shopping hub of our region. And I had an opportunity actually to be the first chair of our regional committee of all of our neighboring counties. And I really see that. If we can market and structure our community right, we could be the shopping hub, I think, for this area. I mean, we just really could. So I think there could be a lot of positive changes. I know we've got the complex that we need to get completed, and we're looking forward to that to build on our park as well. But those things that are really important to people in our community, you know, quality of life type things, those are the things that maybe now that we're going to have some time to work on, as well as having to work with the difficult things with the drug problem and what have you. Thank you.
Mrs. Beach, you have 90 seconds.
The number one thing I would like to see in 4 years is the improvement of the poverty in this area. In 1990, our poverty rate was 22%, and now it's currently nearly 30%. We are on par with Appalachia with our poverty rate, which doesn't make any sense because of all the industry that we have here. With that industry, it should be noted we have 3,000 workers that come into this county every day to work. Our median income is $41,000 a year. Multiply that by 3,000, and we have a minimum of $120 million leaving this county every year. We are not keeping our wealth. So in 4 years, I would like to turn that around where we are keeping our wealth. Our poverty rate has gone back down. I'd love to see it below 22%. That might be too much to hope for, but at least see those trends turning around. It's a shame that we are in the richest spot in this Northern Kentucky region, and yet we have the greatest amount of poverty, and that is what I would like to work on.
Okay, thank you. This next question, this will be our last before we go to the closing. This is a 60-second question, and it will begin with Mrs. Beach. It seems like everyone's always talking about a community center for the youth. It's come up here tonight. It's come up at the city forum as well. Do you believe it's feasible? And is there a way that the county and the city of Carrollton could work together to make one possible? You have 60 seconds.
I'm not inherently opposed to a community center. I would like to look at all the activities that we have currently in this county, and as part of my promise to coordinate and plan, I'd like to work with everybody and see what everybody has and make things more available. Maybe our issue isn't, and maybe it's not a place to go, maybe it's how to get there. We can certainly work with churches and other community groups to help with some of these families that struggle to get places. But and I'm gonna echo Mark, with my own children, I'm taking my kids everywhere. So I know we have things to do, but it's just a matter of finding a plan. And what I don't want to do is duplicate. I don't want to spend a multi-million-dollar building to have activities that we really do have somewhere else. So I'd like to plan that and think it through. And then in a few years, if we're realizing that that is viable for us, then definitely we would go there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tomlinson. You have 60 seconds on that question.
The community center is not anything new. We've talked about it for a number of years. The problem that we kind of run into when we look at that is, yeah, we might be able to get it built, but then the operational cost and a debt service. So I always felt like, from our community's perspective, and we've got a lot of people who would really help us with that, except when you have to have a debt service, and then you have to pay the operational cost. And I visited a number of them, the Oldham County and Shelby County and different ones. I just don't think at this time that we're probably large enough for those. But some of these other things we can work and develop in things that are attractive for our young people and everyone of Carroll County. But it is very difficult when you talk about $15, $18 million. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move now to the closing remarks. And Mr. Tomlinson, you would be the next one up for that. So you will have 90 seconds for your closing.
Thank you, and thank everybody for being here tonight. This is an important election. They all are of great importance. I just feel like that my background in government, being on the small level up through the county judge's position, is very critical. Now, the new county judge, whoever that might be, whoever the people of Carroll County decide is going to be your county judge, we're going to have things we got to get done right off the bat. We're going to probably be in the middle of this baseball complex. Maybe they'll get it done, but we got to worry about the weather. So we want to continue to think about that. The second thing is all these highway needs. And it's not been really the fiscal court's fault. They've had delay after delay after delay with FEMA. They wouldn't release it, wouldn't release their money. They wanted to do some of this work and haven't had a chance to. And I think at our last forum, the judge shared with us that we had about $2.5–3 million just on county roads. That don't even include the state roads. If you look at Kings Ridge and a lot of these other state roads that we have, need a lot of work, and that's gonna take some time. We're gonna have to go back and possibly get some people in Washington involved and really lobby to try to get our roads. But roads are important. The most important road person is the one they have to travel every day, or the schools have to run on. So I'm just asking for your vote. I'm excited about it. I've been here all my life, and the only commitment I'll make to you, I will work hard for this county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Beach, you have 90 seconds for your closing.
It's great seeing all the faces here tonight. Thank you for your support. I just want to remind everyone this election you do have a choice. I want to run for this office because I want to serve this community and I want to see our county change direction. I can envision great possibilities for us. I'm motivated, I'm energetic, and I'm passionate. I have new ideas and I have a fresh perspective. This past year, I have spent the entire year listening to you, and I want you to know that I have heard you. I'm paying attention. As your county judge, I will work with the various community organizations to achieve the goals that you have set for me. I'll bring leadership, vision, and positive change. And more importantly, I want you to know that I represent you, and it's your voice that I'm representing. A vote for me in November is a vote for a fresh start and a new direction, and I would hope that you would do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. The Democratic candidate for Judge-Executive, Harold Shorty Tomlinson, and the Republican candidate, Jennifer Beach. We appreciate your time. If you would, audience, let's give them a round of applause. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. We thank the Carroll County School District for the use of these facilities and allowing us to do this. Remember, this will be on Facebook.